Why would millions of people willingly pay $5 or even $6 for a cup of coffee when they could get one for half the price just a few steps away? That question becomes even more surprising when you consider another uncomfortable fact. Starbucks has never claimed to serve the cheapest coffee. And depending on who you ask, it is not even universally considered the best tasting coffee. Yet every day, customers continue walking past convenience stores, local cafes, fast food chains, and office coffee machines to buy from Starbucks instead. At first glance, the explanation seems obvious. Many people simply assume Starbucks charges more because it sells premium coffee. Better beans, better roasting, better quality, higher price. It sounds reasonable. But the moment you compare Starbucks with the specialty coffee shops that have emerged around the world over the last 2 decades, that explanation begins to fall apart. Many independent cafes serve award-winning beans, roast their coffee with extraordinary precision, and often receive higher ratings from coffee enthusiasts. Some even charge less than Starbucks for drinks that many experts would describe as technically superior. Though if Starbucks is not consistently the cheapest, and not always considered the best coffee, why has its pricing power remained remarkably resilient across markets? The answer matters because Starbucks is not selling a niche luxury product. Coffee is one of the most common consumer purchases on Earth. It is a product with countless alternatives. People can brew it at home, buy it from supermarkets, pick it up at gas stations, order it from local cafes, or make it at the office. In economic terms, this is exactly the kind of market where competition should make it difficult to maintain premium prices. Yet Starbucks has spent decades doing exactly that. Today, the company operates more than 40,000 stores around the world, serving millions of customers through a business that extends far beyond simply pouring coffee into paper cups. According to Starbucks, its strategy has consistently emphasized creating what it calls the Starbucks experience, combining coffee, human connection, personalized service, and welcoming stores into a single customer experience rather than treating coffee as an isolated product. That distinction may seem subtle, but it raises a much more interesting question. Imagine 2 cups of coffee sitting side by side. One costs $2. The other costs twice as much. If the liquid inside both cups is not dramatically different, then what exactly is the customer paying for? Is it the beans, the recipe, the brand, or is something much less obvious shaping the decision long before the first sip? The more closely we examine Starbucks, the harder it becomes to explain its pricing through coffee quality alone. Instead, every layer of the business seems to point toward a different possibility. Perhaps the price of a Starbucks drink has never been determined solely by what is inside the cup. To understand why millions of customers continue accepting those prices, we have to stop looking only at the coffee itself and start looking at everything surrounding the moment they choose to buy it. Only then can we begin to understand what Starbucks is really asking people to pay for. To understand why Starbucks became different, we have to go back to a time when coffee was viewed very differently. For most of the 20th century, coffee was largely a functional purchase. People bought it because they needed caffeine before work, during a commute, or after lunch. Whether it came from a diner, a convenience store, or a pot in the office kitchen, the expectation was simple. Coffee was supposed to be inexpensive, fast, and predictable. Competition naturally revolved around price and convenience. Starbucks entered that environment with a completely different ambition. Howard Schultz, who later became the company's chief executive officer, often described his vision as creating a third place between home and work. The idea was not simply to open another coffee shop. It was to build a place where people would choose to spend time, hold conversations, read, study, work, or simply pause during a busy day. That philosophy gradually shaped almost every visible part of the business. The stores followed recognizable design principles. Comfortable seating encouraged customers to stay instead of leaving immediately. Music, lighting, and interior layouts were carefully managed to create a familiar atmosphere across different cities and countries. Even when local adaptations existed, customers could usually expect a similar feeling the moment they walked through the door. The drink itself also became more personal than standardized. Instead of offering only a few fixed options, Starbucks allowed customers to customize almost every part of their order: milk type, espresso shots, syrup flavors, temperature, foam, whipped cream sweetness, and cup size could all be adjusted. A single beverage could exist in hundreds of possible combinations. From an operational perspective, this increased complexity. From the customer's perspective, it created something much more valuable. The drink no longer felt like a generic product. It felt like a personal choice. The ordering process reinforced that feeling. Writing a customer's name on the cup may seem like a small detail, but it transformed an anonymous transaction into a brief personal interaction. Over time, the company expanded this philosophy through digital ordering, mobile payments, and its loyalty program, making repeat purchases increasingly effortless. These decisions were not isolated marketing ideas. Together, they formed an experience that remained remarkably consistent whether someone visited a Starbucks in New York, London, Tokyo, or Singapore. The company itself continues to describe customer experience as one of its central priorities. In recent communications with investors, Starbucks has emphasized rebuilding welcoming stores, improving service quality, reducing waiting times, and strengthening the in-store experience as key parts of its long-term strategy. Those investments are notable because they extend far beyond coffee preparation itself. Viewed separately, none of these elements appears extraordinary. Comfortable seating exists elsewhere. Personalized drinks exist elsewhere. Mobile ordering exists elsewhere. Friendly staff exist elsewhere. But Starbucks combined these elements into a single system that customers encountered every time they visited. That subtle shift also changed the way customers evaluated the purchase. Instead of asking only whether the coffee tasted good, people increasingly associated Starbucks with a familiar place to meet a colleague, prepare for a meeting, answer emails, take a short break, or enjoy a predictable routine during a busy day. The coffee remained at the center of every transaction. Yet it was no longer the only thing customers experienced. And once multiple sources of value became attached to the same purchase, comparing Starbucks solely with another cup of coffee became a far less complete way of understanding what customers believed they were actually buying. This is where Starbucks made a decision that changed the economics of a simple cup of coffee. Instead of competing by making coffee cheaper, Starbucks steadily invested in making every purchase feel more valuable before the customer even took the first sip. The first layer was consistency. As Starbucks expanded globally, customers developed a reasonable expectation that they would receive a familiar experience almost anywhere they visited. Whether someone was traveling for business, studying abroad, or simply walking into a different neighborhood, the uncertainty that often comes with trying a new cafe was greatly reduced. That predictability has real economic value. People are often willing to pay more when they know exactly what they are going to receive. They are not only buying a drink, they are reducing the risk of making the wrong choice. The second layer was personalization. Unlike traditional coffee shops that offered relatively fixed menus, Starbucks encouraged customers to modify their drinks extensively. Extra espresso, oat milk, almond milk, sugar-free syrup, different temperatures, lighter ice, extra foam, seasonal flavors, and countless combinations became part of the ordering process. Research in consumer psychology has consistently shown that people tend to value products more highly when they participate in creating them. Personalization increases psychological ownership. A customized drink no longer feels like a standard product produced for everyone. It feels like something designed specifically for one individual. The third layer was convenience. Over time, Starbucks invested heavily in its digital ecosystem. Mobile ordering, cashless payment, and Starbucks Rewards reduced the friction involved in buying coffee. Customers could order before arriving, skip waiting in line, earn rewards, and repeat previous purchases with minimal effort. Convenience may appear invisible, but it carries measurable value. Behavioral economics has repeatedly demonstrated that people do not evaluate products in isolation. They also evaluate the effort required to obtain them. Every minute saved and every small decision removed from the purchasing process becomes part of the customer's perception of value. The fourth layer was social meaning. Walking into Starbucks became a recognizable routine for millions of people. A meeting over coffee, a laptop session before work, a brief pause between appointments, or simply carrying the familiar cup through the city all became associated with a certain lifestyle. None of these experiences changed the chemical composition of the coffee itself. Yet they changed what customers associated with buying it. Importantly, Starbucks did not treat these elements as secondary details. In recent communications with investors, the company emphasized improving the in-store experience, reducing wait times, strengthening partner service, and investing in stores that support the experience customers expect. At the same time, Starbucks announced plans to close locations that could no longer deliver both the physical environment and the economic performance required by the brand. That decision reveals something significant. If coffee alone were the source of pricing power, then store design, seating quality, customer flow, and service interactions would matter far less. Instead, Starbucks continues investing in every part of the customer journey because each element contributes to the overall value customers perceive. Viewed individually, consistency, personalization, convenience, and social meaning may not seem powerful enough to justify paying several dollars more for coffee. But together, they create something different. They gradually shift the comparison away from a simple question of beverage quality and toward a broader evaluation of the entire purchasing experience. And once that shift begins, the price printed on the menu starts competing against far more than the cost of another cup of coffee. The evidence points toward a conclusion that is very different from the one most people begin with. It is tempting to believe that Starbucks charges premium prices because it sells premium coffee. But if that were the complete explanation, then every coffee company serving excellent beans should enjoy the same pricing power. In reality, many specialty cafes produce coffee that critics and enthusiasts rate more highly. Yet few have built the same global ability to sustain higher prices at comparable scale. The difference lies somewhere else. Starbucks does not ask customers to evaluate only the beverage. It changes what the customer is evaluating in the first place. Think about what actually happens during a typical visit. A customer walks into a familiar environment. The menu is already understood. Payment is quick. The order reflects personal preferences. The store offers a place to sit, work, meet someone, or simply pause between appointments. The drink arrives in a recognizable cup that carries the same identity in thousands of locations around the world. None of those elements changes the coffee itself. But together, they change the context in which the coffee is consumed. That distinction matters because people rarely judge value in absolute terms. Behavioral research has consistently shown that consumers evaluate purchases within the situations where those purchases occur. The same product can be perceived very differently depending on convenience, certainty, social setting, and emotional meaning. From that perspective, Starbucks is competing in a broader market than coffee alone. Its real competitors are not only other cafes. They also include the inconvenience of making coffee at home before a busy morning, the uncertainty of trying an unfamiliar local cafe during a business trip, the lack of a comfortable meeting place, the time required to prepare a customized drink yourself. Every time Starbucks removes one of those sources of friction, the customer receives value that cannot be measured by the cost of coffee beans. This also explains why Starbucks continues investing heavily in store experience instead of treating stores as simple beverage distribution points. Recent company communications have emphasized improving seating, service quality, waiting times, customer interaction, and the physical atmosphere inside stores. Starbucks has even closed locations that could no longer provide the type of environment the company believes customers expect. If the business were primarily selling coffee, those investments would appear difficult to justify. If the business is selling a complete consumption experience, they become entirely logical. The same reasoning explains why a decline in customer experience can threaten pricing power more quickly than changes in coffee quality itself. Long waiting times, poor service, crowded stores, an uncomfortable environment. Each of these weakens the experience surrounding the purchase. As that experience deteriorates, customers naturally begin comparing Starbucks more directly with other coffee options. Once the surrounding context loses value, the premium price becomes harder to defend. In other words, Starbucks cannot rely on its brand name alone. Its pricing power depends on continuously maintaining the environment, convenience, familiarity, and emotional reassurance that customers have come to expect. Seen through this lens, the premium is attached to something much larger than the beverage. The coffee remains essential, but it functions as the center of an experience that extends well beyond taste. That is why comparing Starbucks with another cup of coffee often leads to the wrong conclusion. The customer is not making a decision between two drinks that happen to have different prices. The customer is choosing between two entirely different consumption experiences, even when both begin with the same basic ingredient. Seen from this perspective, Starbucks did not solve the problem by convincing customers that its coffee was worth dramatically more than everyone else is. It solved a different problem altogether. Instead of trying to increase the value of the product alone, Starbucks increased the value of everything surrounding the product. That distinction explains why the company's pricing strategy has remained resilient even in a market filled with lower-priced alternatives. A customer walking into Starbucks is not simply comparing coffee against coffee. They're comparing routines. They're comparing convenience. They're comparing familiarity. They're comparing certainty. They're comparing environments where they can meet a colleague, prepare for an interview, answer electronic mail, or enjoy a predictable break during a busy day. Once those comparisons replace a simple comparison of beverages, the meaning of price changes. This also explains why Starbucks has continued investing in store redesigns, employee experience, digital ordering, loyalty programs, and customer service instead of focusing exclusively on coffee itself. These investments may appear unrelated to pricing at first glance, but they all strengthen the same economic mechanism. Every improvement that makes the overall experience more valuable increases the customer's willingness to accept the price attached to it. The opposite is equally true. If stores become uncomfortable, service slows down, waiting times increase, or the experience becomes inconsistent, the premium becomes much harder to defend. Customers begin stripping away everything surrounding the purchase until only the drink remains. And once that happens, Starbucks is forced back into the same price comparison as every other coffee seller. This is why maintaining pricing power is far more demanding than simply charging a higher price. The premium must be earned repeatedly through every interaction the customer has with the brand. The coffee starts the relationship. The experience protects the price. Ultimately, Starbucks demonstrates something much broader than a successful coffee business. It shows that customers rarely pay only for the physical product sitting in front of them. They pay for the confidence that the purchase will fit into their lives in a predictable, meaningful, and convenient way. That is why focusing only on production cost often leads to the wrong conclusion when evaluating premium brands. The cost of ingredients helps explain the economics of manufacturing. It does not fully explain the economics of willingness to pay. Businesses that rely solely on making better products eventually compete against every other company trying to improve the same product. Businesses that reshape how customers experience those products often compete on entirely different terms. That is exactly what Starbucks achieved. The company did not persuade millions of people that coffee itself had become dramatically more valuable. It persuaded them that the moment surrounding the coffee had become more valuable. And that may be the most important distinction of all. A company gains lasting pricing power not simply by improving what it sells, but by changing what customers believe they are buying. When perceived value expands beyond the product itself, the conversation shifts away from cost and toward experience. That is where a premium price becomes far easier to sustain, even in a market where cheaper alternatives are always within reach.